Hi and welcome to No Code Insider. This is a series of talks, interviews, insights and Q&A with no code enthusiasts and makers of Drona HQ, a no code platform. I'm Kinjal here and today we have Devesh Kharade, the co-founder and tech leader, here to take us behind the scenes of Drona HQ.
Hi Devesh, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Hi, and how is it day going through so far?
So far, so good. Firefighting, of course, as usual.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice way to explain or describe your day. That's a usual, isn't it?
Of course, that's daily life for any product or a tech guy.
Yeah.
So nothing, no surprises there.
No surprises there. Cool. So today I really want to go to the basics about what is no code. What is a no code platform all about?
So let me give you a little background about what no code is all about. So generally, if you look at applications have been created in the market since a lot many years, and there has always been an attempt to do lesser number of lines of code that people can write to create applications since whenever it started. So since the time of Lotus Notes, 3GL, 4GL, and so on and so forth. So no code is nothing new as a concept. It has always been an aspiration for everyone in the industry to create applications by writing least number of least number of lines of code. That is to increase the productivity of developers or people who are writing applications. So no code is into the same space. What has happened recently is, if you look at the changes, people have the technology has advanced a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. If you look at 10 years back, we probably did not have iPhones, Android devices. The computational power and mobility was not very high. Same with cloud and everything coming up. So
Right.
so when you look at all of these technologies merging and letting you experiment without going ahead and writing tons of lines of code, no code is a simple extension to the same stuff.
Okay.
But only difference here this time is the demand for applications has grown rapidly because of these technologies. Now when you see the demand for applications growing rapidly, and people not having enough resources to build these applications or these solutions or systems, the popularity of no code has grown multifold in the last 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
And that's why we are seeing no code, low code as a very trending kind of a topic. But to be very honest, it has been existing since a lot amount of time. So that's what no code is all about.
So tell me some secrets. Is there really no code? Do they really not write any piece of code? Is it possible?
So I'll give you a small story, what happened. So Drona HQ as an organization, we were into the enterprise platform space. We used to provide a platform where developers could build or rather deploy applications that they have already built on hybrid frameworks. But what we basically figured out was if we have to really accelerate this phenomena, we thought how would it be if we could create these applications without writing code. So that was a very raw basic a very top level kind of a discussion we had around a couple of years back. And to be very honest, while having that discussion itself, we argued ourselves, because we used to build applications, we were techies, we were developers, and we used to build applications, and we thought, how is it possible, even though we are thinking or people are thinking like that, is it really possible to create these applications without writing code? Can we really do that? How will we handle this? How will we handle that? How will we handle navigation, caching, offline? And tons of stuff that a developer would ideally think that I write code in this kind of a way. How would a business guy be able to do that? If you fast forward from 2 years back to the discussions that we had to now, I think our conviction into the no code story has only become stronger. Simply because when we started off, thinking is it possible? Should we attempt it? And we tried to aspire and attempt to do something of that sort. But we've come a long way. Right now, if you ask me, if you would have asked me 2 years back, probably I would have said into the same kind of a tone where would it be possible or not. But if you ask me right now, I think every application that you are building at this point of time,
Okay.
enterprise or business applications, at least I would say,
Mm-hmm.
I think most of them are possible to be built without writing any kind of code, where a business guy can actually drag, drop and build. But
Wow.
that's something that we've seen, and I'm not saying because we are building a platform of that sorts. I have seen other platforms also being built in parallel, that people are let's say building websites on or any other tools on, and I think it is a reality.
Wow, that's massive. That's a massive note on which I understand no code is possible with Devesh. And what do you want to say about the difference between low code and no code? There are a lot of things coming up in market, and there are lots of articles, no code, low code. Sometimes people have used them in a same sentence, yeah, low code, no code applications. And sometimes people are arguing that please don't mix both the terms. What is your take on this? How do you define them or differentiate them?
I think it's a very valid question. That when we speak to customers, when we speak to people who are into this ecosystem, I think I see a lot of confusion where people misuse the words no code or low code, and try and fit in some definition into it. But I think the definition is very, 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 very easy. So there are three types of definitions to this. One is a no code, one is low code, and one is pro code.
Okay.
Okay, let's start from pro code. Pro code is basically the target audience to pro code is developers who are writing active code, and they will have an ID or a development environment where they will use some kind of a script or language, and they will write code to write an application. So that's pro code, which is aimed at developers. Then comes low code. Low code is nothing but a development environment itself, or a script that you write. The only thing is it is also aimed at developers,
Okay.
but it saves you some mundane tasks of writing code every day, like putting a header every time, putting a footer every time, and so on and so forth. So the definition of the target audience remains the same. It is still developers
Okay.
who are using low code, but the number of lines of code that they write have gone lesser, and everything else remains still the same. They still have to compile the application, they still have to deploy, and so on and so forth. So that's low code. And there are specific players like OutSystem or Mendix who serve this kind of a market, which is low code. And eventually every script that you see is eventually low code itself. And then comes no code. Now biggest difference between low code, pro code and no code is low code and pro code are targeted towards developers. No code, the target audience shifts or changes completely. It's not completely developers, though of course developers can use it as a no code platform, but its primary audience is people who are subject matter experts of building a particular application. They are domain experts of building a particular application, or they are business people, and they want to create tools or applications, and without involving a developer, they can basically drag, drop and do all of those things. So that's the overview of what these ideal three platforms are.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question. I understand this is for the business users, but how many of these applications are actually, percentage wise, if you have seen in the last 1 year, what percentage do you think are actually a no code application which was end to end developed without a developer in place?
So I'll be able to give you examples of apps that are built on Drona HQ itself.
Okay.
Because Drona HQ is a pure no code platform, we basically have seen applications being built by business analysts, by business heads, by project managers, by quality analyst guys. So all of these guys who have something to do with tech in their periphery. So if you look at a business analyst, he is into the tech space itself. He is analyzing business requirements and putting them into place for an application to be built. So he's very close to the tech. He understands the requirements. He knows what is to be built, but he's not actually going ahead and writing code at that point of time. I think these guys are people who are the first immediate people that we have seen adopting Drona HQ, and they are able to build everything that they wanted to build, right from applications for a particular department to whole organization-wide applications,
Wow.
forms, transactional applications, display, dashboards, and you name it, and so
Wow,
on and
that's
so forth. So
impressive.
that's
That's impressive. So, I would like to understand, as an application or a business application, there are many elements to it, from front end to the database and integrations to various other systems. Does a no-code platform support the complete infrastructure of creating an application from not just the front end or not just the back end? How does it stand?
So, if you look at any application, right? So every application has a same stack of, the way the architecture is built for. So ideally, there are four larger pieces to it.
Right.
Of course, there are a lot more things internally, but
Right.
there are four larger pieces to it. One is the front end, which is your, ideally in a web application, it is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc., which is your nothing but your UI and all of that, the client side logic that you are going to build. The second layer is basically your API layer, which is nothing but data arbitrage that takes place, but more or less business logic, connecting to the database and so on and so forth. Those are the stuff that you write in your API.
Right.
The third is the data, the actual data, which is the database
Right.
layer. Now, if you look at databases, there are tons of databases that are available in the market, and some of these no-code tools like Drona HQ will also provide you the same.
Right.
And the last part is nothing but automations, which is generally, if you look at schedules or migration scripts, and you want to write some schedules,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So that's the last part, which is not a very important part, but most of the enterprise applications require
Right.
at some point of the time it requires those things. So what Drona HQ does is, Drona HQ covers all these larger 4 points.
Okay.
For building out the front end, it provides a UI builder where a user can drag drop, build a UI depending on the mobile or web or responsive,
Okay.
whatever front ends that you would require. And it also gives you a complete no code way of writing your client side business logic, which is hiding any controls, showing any controls on different rules, and so on and so forth. So that's all that you can basically do on top of a UI builder that we provide.
Fantastic.
Second part to it is the API part. We provide a workflow engine, which is again a no code, completely a workflow engine that you can build. What it does is when you are going to build the workflow completely, it also gives you an API endpoint. So if you have an application which is only backend that you would want to build and front end is in your existing application that you want to enhance or something, you can also use the Drona HQ workflow engine to build out those kind of workflows as well.
Fantastic.
And you have tons of blocks in it, like approval blocks, input blocks, branching, logic, updating a sheet or data, transferring or data transferring to a third party system, integrating them, and so on and so forth. So all of those things you can basically configure, drag drop into the workflow engine. The third part is the data, actual data itself. So Drona HQ provides a sheet-like interface, which is nothing but we call it as Sheets itself, where it's a database, it's a columnar database, but you can access it like a sheet. You can build out your columns, you can put rules into it, you can have your column definitions, be it text, number, etc., 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 and you can use it as a full-fledged database which can scale as your system scale itself. And the last part is we call it as automations, where you can, on particular schedules, on particular events into third-party systems or into Drona HQ, you can run scripts, which basically nothing but trigger workflows in Drona HQ itself, and you can write your own logic there. So these are your 4 major pillars that Drona HQ covers. But if you look at all of these, tools that you see in the market, or if you look at any no-code platform, we have few differentiating factors into all of these 3 or 4 sections that we use, for which customers basically come to us.
That's nice. I think I would love to go into each of those, but today's episode will just stick to the overall view of Drona HQ and no code. Definitely in some more episodes we'll cover each and differentiate each element, each of the 4 elements. But that brings to my next question. What is Drona HQ not right for? there will be some elements or a niche where you say, hey, this is my platform is for something like this, best suited for.
So I will tell you what people have been building. So generally, what happens is we are building a platform where even we don't know what kind of cases people are building. So every day when we speak to customers, we are surprised ourselves that what kind of things people are building on top of this platform for which we did not even build those features or platform for. So that itself has been a surprise for us. But ideally, if you look at not from our perspective, but what our customers are more comfortable building things on top of Drona HQ. One is internal tools which are facing employees, systems like invoice management, systems like your HR systems, your inventory management, your order taking, stock keeping, and so on and so forth, inspections, audits, certifications, etc., etc. So those are the kind of applications which are very popular that people have built, critical running applications, business critical applications, and they are successfully built, running in production, tons of users. So those are, I think that's the sweet spot for us. So if you look at the target audience, employee, partners, B2B customers is where Drona HQ fits in very well. But like I always say never. So the use cases grow every day as in when we add features and customers discover things into the platform that they build it for.
A quick one. Tell me one application which you were surprised to look at somebody, a customer would have made and showcased to you and would have come up to you and you were surprised, wow, this is something which would have amazed you.
Let me think. So I think there was one application which was a large FMCG customer. So the way they wanted to build is they have tons of brands under their umbrella, and they have all of these guys spread across multiple geographies, and they faced a lot of issues where the counterfeits or copycats of their brands were appearing in the market because it's a very popular FMCG brand.
Right.
And the business head there, who was facing a lot of a business hit when it comes to counterfeit or copycat products across the globe. He thought of why can't we, because we have people, distributors across the market, why cannot we think of something where if they spot a counterfeit or a copycat product, they can quickly report it back, and it can basically go through a whole workflow of legal guys,
right,
plus their brand protection team and,
right,
and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that started off as a concept because we did some kind of a workshop with that customer with their business team itself.
Right.
And I was surprised because in flat 2 days time that whole application was built and was ready to go live and deployed. But more importantly, the look and feel of the application to appeal to the end users, it was completely built by a designer and not even a business guy or a business analyst or anyone else. So that was more surprising for us.
Super, that's amazing. A flat 2 day to build an app and make it go live. I have never heard of such stories.
That too, a company which is a global Fortune 500 company and a global deployment.
That's nice. So tell me, Devesh, what is your unfair advantage in the market?
So I'll tell you the way we look at what are our advantages and why we are going that path. So when we speak to customers, I would not say small customers, but medium-sized and large-sized customers, enterprise customers. Generally, they have a preconceived notion in their head that when I use a no-code platform, I will hit a ceiling. I will not be able to build an app the way I would want to build, which is pro code. So if I put a developer in place, probably a developer will be able to build anything and everything that is possible.
Right.
But with a no-code platform, I will not be able to do that. I'll hit a ceiling, or I will get stuck somewhere, and so on and so forth. So, so generally, if you look at Drona HQ as a platform, So of course, with any no-code platform, that is going to be the case where you because what the platform provides, will be limited with what they provide and what you are going to build. But what we've done is we have opened. So generally, we have three places where we opened a developer interface.
Okay.
So while you are doing no code, while the people who are configuring are going to be business guys, but if they think that they are getting stuck or they have a ceiling, they can basically have a developer build out that small module. It can be a business logic, it can be a UI control, or it can be a workflow block.
Right.
So a developer can be used at that right amount of time. So just because that small module is not supported by a platform, you need not give away all the benefits that no code platform brings with you and go towards a pro code. So it's not an extreme decision to make. You can basically get a developer to write that small piece of code and integrate into the same application that you have. So we have a code block, a function editor, and a UI editor that we provide that developers can use so that they can provide a reusable component. So that is one. Second is, generally when customers go live with any application, if it's a small use case, they can go live and they can at runtime, they can iterate on that application and deploy it in production. But if imagine a case where a customer goes live, with 10,000 users,
Okay.
and it is widely used in an organization, the whole tool that they have built or an app that they have built. And now you want to do any iterative changes. It's not very easy because you can't just do an iterative change and break the whole application that all of these 10,000 users are
Right.
building or
Right.
using on their devices or on the web. So what we have is we have something called as environments. So we have a dev and production environment. So whenever you iterate on your application, by default it moves into a dev environment which only gets deployed to the dev version. So your right from your UI to your workflow to your database, everything has a dev version to it, and you can basically at runtime you can make all of those changes. Once everything is stable, you can easily publish them into a production environment. That's second. Third is, while any business guys in a large enterprise organization are building these critical applications like invoice management, for example, or inventory and so on and so forth, the data becomes very critical. The system of record becomes very critical because you cannot tamper with that data at any point of time. So when you look at those, then permissions come into play. So who has a creator permission, who has an editor permission, who has read only rights, who has view only rights, and so on and so forth, who has publishing rights. So we have all of those different rights built onto the platform itself. So while you are building a very serious data intensive or data critical application, you can use all of these things to keep your data safe as well. And last but not least, I think the user experience of building this applications completely. So I think we spend a lot of time getting the user experience right for everything that users are going to use to build out these applications. So I think by far we think we have one of the best user experience to build out any platform, any app that you want to build.
Fantastic. That's great. So quickly tell me one more thing. Which is the best or the biggest compliment that you have received for the platform?
I think that's quite a lot. I mean, every day we receive a lot of
compliments, but some reviews and something that made your day or something that you remember that, hey, some user just popped up a message or.
So I think there was one HR, someone from an HR fraternity runs a assessment company. I think he has no relation to tech at any point of time. He's a pure HR consultant. I think due to the recent coronavirus, they wanted to do, they couldn't do face-to-face assessments of a company that they were looking for, and he thought, let me give it a try.
Right.
I think in a week's time, he was able to build a whole online assessment platform
on his own.
And I think what he came and told me was, I couldn't believe that I could build an app myself. So I think that probably
you made somebody into an app developer, virtual.
And now he's probably offering it to a lot more, customers of
Shifting
his.
jobs. Probably not.
So
shifting
that's
jobs,
like a
but
partner. I mean, that's the way we enable partners as well. Our partners are also surprised that they can build apps.
yeah. Right.
So all our partners, if you would see, they have never built apps ever in their life, and I think that's one of the best compliments that I would say that we've received.
Great. Quickly tell me, in a short one sentence, if somebody has to understand what is Drona HQ as an outsider to a tech industry.
So, if you look at anyone, they do, I mean, if they have a schedule every day, they start doing something and, they end their day somewhere. So, whatever jobs that you are doing, I think all of these jobs or, things that you basically work on every day, like your to-do tasks, I think everything can be more efficiently done if you use technology, systems, or apps to your advantage. Unfortunately, the bandwidth to hire someone to build out these applications or the budgets to shell out to go ahead and find someone and build these applications was missing at this point of time because of everyday tasks that you would want to complete in time. So I think what platforms like these provide is everyone who's even a non-tech guy can come. They can think of what part of their job can they automate or can they more efficiently do using apps. And even if they start with that one small thing and come ahead and build, I think it's going to change a lot of their lives.
Great. And on an ending note, can you tell us a sneak peek into what's coming up next on the platform?
So there are tons of things that we release
Yeah.
almost every week, but so there will be something. So of course there are always improvements that happen. So if you look at system of record, so ideally there are two things: either your data has to be reliable, and the data integrity has to be right because you are playing with system of record. So that we keep on always improving day to day. So that's the boring part of the deployments that happen. But one big kind of update that is going to come is for the not for the end users but for the people who are going to build these applications. So while no code lets you build applications really fast, what we are basically focusing now on is also while they are building these applications, while they are dragging, dropping, while they are
Right.
binding data or pushing, how can they use shortcuts a lot more, how can they do things even quicker that they are doing on the platform, on the tool itself. I think that would be a big deployment that will come up.
Great. That's the secret to our no-code tool today. And on that ending note, I would like to thank Devesh for his valuable time to share what is no-code platform all about, why, and how Drona HQ was built up. And go out and explore the platform. It's a SaaS cloud-based platform for everyone out there who thinks they cannot code and they cannot make an app. Go out, make those apps, surprise yourself and surprise us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.